So the other day I sat down to make an interesting, informative and easy to understand video about vocoders, how they work, and talk about how I've been using one in a piece of music that I'm working on at the moment. When I'd finished, I sat down with my wife and we watched it together, and she looked at me and said, "I haven't a clue what any of that was about." So clearly it wasn't as easy to understand as I'd thought. The piece of music is a thing called Running Free, which I gave to my patrons some time ago as a work in progress, put it to one side, and now I'm working on it again and changing some of the sounds and using the vocoder to manipulate those sounds in an interesting way. If you don't know what a vocoder is, what it does or how it works, here is what I hope is an easy to understand tutorial. Just like light, sound can be viewed as a spectrum. White light contains all the colours or frequencies of light that we can see, and white noise contains all the frequencies of sound that we can hear. Here's some white noise, and if we put it through something called an audio spectrum analyzer, we can see what it looks like. You've probably seen something like this before on the front panel of a home stereo or a car stereo. It's essentially a bar chart, and the audio spectrum is divided up into frequency bands rather like a rainbow, with low frequencies appearing towards the left of the chart and the high frequencies towards the right. If I play you a low frequency sound, you can see bars appearing on the left of the chart. If I play a high frequency sound, bars appear over on the right. The length of each bar represents the amplitude of a sound, so the louder a particular frequency is, the longer the bar. I also have something called a graphic equalizer, which is a sophisticated filter or tone control. If you're not sure what that means, think of it as bass and treble controls, but with lots of extra frequency bands in the middle. If I send the white noise through the graphic equalizer, I can draw curves on the controls, and that changes the frequency content of the white noise, and you'll be able to see that reflected in the display of the spectrum analyzer. Here's what my voice looks like as I speak, and you can see how the different frequencies in the sound change as I say different words. Some sounds, such as sh or s, have a lot of high frequencies, and they appear over on the right. Lower frequency sounds, such as appear on the left. So, what if the bars on that graph could be connected to the sliders on the graphic equalizer like virtual fingers, and the sound of my voice could push those sliders up and down? Well, that's essentially how a vocoder works. Okay, so this is my vocoder, and as you can see, it's a software plugin, and the nice thing about this one is it's free, which we like, and it's divided into two sections. This section, labelled carrier, is actually a fairly rudimentary synthesizer that would normally go through the vocoder part of the device. Now, I'm not actually using the carrier synth, I'm using a different synth, which I'll come to in just a moment. On the vocoder side, we can see there's a graphic equalizer. We don't see that moving at all, but that kind of goes on in the background, but we can adjust it to enhance or remove certain frequencies. And there are a few other controls as well. We can decide where the various different signals are coming from, the levels of the carrier and the modulation. We can allow some sibilance through, which is quite useful, and there's a bit of compression going on and some chorus and a few other things as well, different level controls. So we're using this synthesizer instead of the carrier section of the vocoder, and then I'm going to feed different signals into the modulation section of the vocoder. Here's a short chord sequence being played on a synthesizer. Now here's the same chord sequence being played through the vocoder, which is being modulated by the sound of my voice. Now here's the same chord sequence being played through the vocoder, which is being modulated by the sound of my voice. Now here's the same chord sequence being played through the vocoder, which is being modulated by the sound of my voice. Vocoders don't only work with voices, and that's where it gets more interesting. Here's a short drum loop that I wrote. Now, let's use that drum loop to modulate the sound of the synthesizer using the vocoder. So that's my piece on vocoders, how they work and what fun you can have with them. If you want to know what I'm doing with the vocoder in my own music, and in particular the piece that I mentioned earlier on running free, that will be in the next video, which will be on Patreon only. So if you want to sign up to Patreon, follow the link down below, and as ever, see you soon. Bye for now.